Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on a Monday. Lots to get to after a busy weekend in sports. SEC baseball, SEC basketball, LSU baseball, LSU basketball. Loads and loads to get to until 3 o'clock. But we are going to start with the news of the day. And then we'll have Luke Johnson on in 15 minutes to talk about it a little bit further. But the Saints have agreed to terms with their quarterback of the future. He, of course, by now you know, is Derek Carr. I made my thoughts on this possibility pretty clear over the last couple of weeks. As this continued to gain steam, momentum, I pretty much told you where I stood on it. And so now that it's happened, you take a look at things a little bit further, and my thoughts haven't really changed. The Saints got better today. They got better. They had Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, and they got Derek Carr. They got better. They're probably the favorites in the NFC South. I believe they got closer to winning the division. I don't believe they got materially closer to winning a championship, which is obviously very difficult to do. The best way I can put this acquisition is to put it into baseball terms. Bear with me here. Even those of you who are not big-time baseball fans are probably aware of the stat WAR, wins above replacement. Baseball uses it a ton. I can't even tell you exactly how it's concocted, but it stands for wins above replacement. And what that means is where you stand in relation to an average player in the league. If I were to give Derek Carr a WAR, it would be 0, which means he's exactly league average. What you get in Derek Carr is not what you're going to get from Mahomes or Burrow or Herbert or Allen, not what Jalen Hurts did this year. He's not in the elite class, but he's also a step up from Davis Mills or Matt Ryan, Andy Dalton, Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Tannehill at this stage in his career. It's better than that, but it's not towards the top. My thoughts on adding Derek Carr to the Saints had less to do with his ability to play quarterback and more to do with putting together a roster financially. And we'll have Sharif on later in this week, and we'll talk about this, and he'll say the salary cap doesn't matter. It's a credit card. The Saints are going to manipulate it. They're still going to add players. Doesn't matter. And to an extent, he's right. They're great at moving money around. Some call it kicking the can down the road. Some say manipulating the cap. However you want to phrase it, they do it as intricately as anybody in the league. But I still believe when you add a player that you're guaranteeing $100 million over 4 years, that does take up a piece of a very real salary cap. And I'm looking at a Saints roster that has so many issues on the interior defensive line, at pass rusher, at running back, aging secondary. What's the offensive line going to look like? You've got so many issues that led to the mediocrity that was this season, and it just makes it more difficult to deal with those when you dump a $100 million quarterback in the middle of it. And it's not an exorbitant amount of money. They're paying what the going rate is for a quarterback. You start Andy Dalton, you don't have to pay that. You go get a real quarterback, you got to pay it. And they did. And this just confirms everything we know about this Saints front office and the way they've operated for the last 15 years. They are always pushing forward. Trading up in the draft to get players. Aggressively seeking free agent quarterbacks the last couple of years. There is no intention of ever taking a year off with this front office. Never a reset. Never a rebuild. Never a transition. It's just go, go, go. That's why they were all in on Deshaun Watson when we're looking at salary cap going, how does that work? That's why they're all in on Derek Carr, even though we look at the salary cap and go, how's this going to work? They are not going to go the route that I kind of suggested would probably be the best way, in my opinion, to building the next great Saints team, and that would be, okay, we got to chill. We got to sign Andy Dalton on the cheap. We've got to plug some holes in this roster. We might take it on the chin in 2023, and quite frankly, that might cost Dennis Allen his job, and then you move forward after that. That's the way I saw it. That was never the way the Saints were going to look at it. They were always going to do everything they could to be the best football team they can be this coming year. And in my opinion, they got better today. I don't think it's wise for the medium length term here. I don't think over the next 5 to 7 years, I don't believe that Derek Carr is the route to the next great Saints team. I think he's the route to make sure it doesn't go to 4-13. I don't think he's the best route to go to 14-3. That's my opinion on Derek Carr with the way this roster's put together. Maybe it helps you with Michael Thomas. And you get him back, and maybe he's the player he once was. But to me, this just made things more difficult to create the roster around the quarterback spot. It makes the Saints more interesting to me, sports talk radio guy. They are very likely, in my opinion, a division favorite now. That makes football more interesting next fall. But it feels like a one-way ticket to getting dusted by San Francisco or whoever in the wild card round. That's what it feels like to me. I'm curious what the fan reaction is to this. In my group text where there are Saints fans, in Twitter world where there are Saints fans, Bayou Ford chat where there are Saints fans, seems pretty tepid. It seems pretty tepid. But you do have a guy here in Derek Carr who throws for 4,000 yards a year. In 18, he threw for 4,000. In 19, he threw for 4,000. In 20, he threw for 4,100. In 21, he threw for 4,800 yards. And this past year, until he didn't play the last two games, he had thrown for 3,552. So if he had thrown for 250 a game over the last two, which is very realistic, he throws for 4,000 again. But you're talking about a 31-year-old guy who was playing last year with Devontae Adams, with Waller, one of the best tight ends in the league, Renfro. It was a pretty good team. They had some injuries along the way. Most do. And it wasn't every single day, didn't have everybody. But it was a pretty good squad. And they were 6-9 with him. It just, again, they got better today. Did they get closer to a championship? I don't think so. And that's kind of what I'm in it for as a fan. I was in for the Cubs hitting the reset button, reshuffling the structure of the roster and the payroll, and making another push. And that took a couple of years of poor play to figure it out, which is not interesting and not fun. But I'd rather make a swing at going 14-3 and being a Super Bowl contender than, man, can we edge out the Falcons here? Can we just get over the hump with Carolina? That's what it feels like. And we'll see what they're able to do in free agency, but the most important thing for this 4-year run with Derek Carr on the roster, the most important thing is going to be these draft picks. They have got to get good players on the cheap, and the best way to do that is in the draft. They've got to draft well. And it doesn't appear that a quarterback's going to be on that menu. So you got to find a pass rusher in that first two rounds. You got to find interior, disruptive defensive linemen. You got to figure out what you're doing at the running back spot. Because quarterback's done now, and it's expensive. But the draft is going to be the biggest piece to this Saints organization now. It's been a mixed bag with this group. Some drafts have been on fire. Some have been total busts, and that's the nature of the game. But they have got to hit on draft picks moving forward with Derek Carr. Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day. Your reaction to the Saints adding Derek Carr as their starting quarterback. Excited, indifferent, disappointed. That's what we'll do. We'll throw the Citizens Bank poll question out there and see what y'all think about it. Going to get to some LSU baseball here in 20 minutes. Got some thoughts from all three games we've seen, plus the game with Butler coming up this evening. We'll talk about LSU's basketball regular season finale against Florida coming up in hour number 2. Got some thoughts on what we saw around the SEC in baseball and basketball as well. That'll be in hour number 2. But we want to stay on this big story as the Saints have now pushed forward with a new franchise quarterback. Luke Johnson covers the black and gold for The Advocate. He joins us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. There you can find testimonials. You can find some photos of their great work, or you can request a quote with One Bath and Closets. Is your bathroom old, dated, not functional, doesn't look great? Change it. One Bath and Closets can do it. They are a one-stop shop. It's one company, one contractor. It's One Bath and Closets. They will handle the entire remodel, or maybe it's just a tub to shower conversion that you're interested in. They can do that for you as well. And if your closet's cluttered, too much stuff, you're doing spring cleaning, I don't have room for all this stuff, got shoes everywhere, let One Bath and Closets come in and put a customized closet in your home. Deal with cubbies and bins and racks and shelves and mirrors. They can do it all. And best part, if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over to One Bath and Closets, they will not charge you for the rip out of your current closet. They're not going to charge you for the installation of the new one, just going to charge you for the cost of that unit. Go to onebathandclosets.com. David Vaughn and his team been in the game for 3 decades. Onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird.
Join us for a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench as T-Bob and Hester are back in studio and we talk Saints with Nick Underhill of New Orleans.football, plus a new OTB mailbag. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So yesterday I was out at the box, and before the game started, wanted to trot over to the radio booth, see my guy Chris Blair, Buzzy Heidel hanging out. So I ducked into the press box real briefly and saw the chili dogs all sitting there right where they always have been since I've been going to the press box in 2011. But you can't go by the press box chili dogs and not think of one man. That is, of course, Luke Johnson, who once charted how many chili dogs he ate in a single baseball season when he was covering the team. Luke, what did that number reach?
I'm looking it up right now, actually. it was something like 56 or something like that. It was bad.
Are they even good?
No, of course not. Of course not. But look, I think that the big problem was that that Chelsea really, really hated this. Like my wife Chelsea, she was just like, this is actually the worst thing you've ever done in your life. Okay, I'm looking it up right now. Like the last one I see, dude, I was at 50 on May. That season went. That season went long, right?
June,
that season went to June, so 50 on May 10th of 2014. That's bad. Yeah, it was
50 chili dogs.
Made some decisions.
Oh well, look. Sometimes you're young and dumb and hungry, and it was a pleasure to watch that night in and night out. It was what a performance. DiMaggio, some people were saying.
I was young and dumb, but I didn't go hungry very often.
There you go. All right, Luke Johnson covers the Saints now for the Advocate, of course, of Black and Gold. Come to terms with their quarterback of the future, Derek Carr, 4-year deal, guaranteed $100 million. How close was this, you think, Luke, between the options that Derek Carr had upon his departure from Las Vegas?
You mean between the Saints and other teams?
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think it was very close at all. I mean, the Saints had to pay him market rate, right, which I think they did. I think the contract is a pay bump from what Derek Carr was going to get with the Raiders, but it also gives the Saints somebody who, I mean, by this time next year, it might not even be a top 15 quarterback contract, right? Like, it's going to get blown out of the water by Justin Herbert and Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow and, all these young, talented quarterbacks are about to sign new deals. Lamar Jackson, right? All these guys are going to blow that out of the water soon. Right now, I think it's like number 9 quarterback money. So look, they were going to have to pay him regardless, but I really don't think it was ever that close between them and the Jets and the Panthers. I know somebody put out a report the other day that said the Jets were like kind of the soft favorite, but I just feel like that was maybe some gamesmanship. I think the Saints were always really confident that they were very in a very, very good spot with him, and I think they vibed right with him. I think from everything I know about who Derek Carr is and what he wants to do, I think the Saints made the most sense. So I just don't think it was ever really, really close to being anywhere else.
What does this mean for the Saints this coming football season?
Well, I mean, this means that for the second straight year, when everybody's like, well, I guess they're about to tear it down and start over, they're like, no, we're not. We're going for it. I still think that they think they have a good enough team as long as the quarterback's right? And they know that, they have a pretty clear shot to the playoffs because their division is bad. it was bad last year. They were right about that. They just weren't right about their quarterback last year. And their offense really, really struggled, and I think their team struggled along with it. So they're going for it, and I think they're going to be aggressive in building this team. They're going to continue to do that. They're probably going to have to make some really tough decisions on some people. I don't know if they're going to be able to re-sign somebody like Caden Ellis, where you got to commit money over the course of several years to this person, knowing that you just committed a bunch of money over the course of several years to your quarterback. But they're going to be trying to put a contending team around Derek Carr because they believe they have a quarterback that they can win with.
So explain to me, in general terms, the best way to assemble a roster that's significantly better than the one last year, where you're this far over the salary cap and you've just added a $100 million quarterback to your roster. How does that roadmap look?
Okay, so I think the first thing they got to do, right, and I think the first thing that they will do is approach Michael Thomas and say, hey, you're not going to be making $20 million next year, not with us and not with any other team. We have a quarterback now, so we are going to talk to you about taking a big pay cut and having all these incentives, right, where you can recoup some of the money if you are still the player that we think you are. And I think getting Carr here was the only way that was going to work for them, because otherwise Mike Thomas would be like, yeah, well, I'll just go take $5 million with incentives to play for the Chiefs and have a really good shot at winning the Super Bowl and catch passes from Pat Mahomes. So yeah, they have a good chance, I think, of getting Mike Thomas back in the fold. Not a great chance, but a good chance. And then they have they don't have to use a high level draft asset on a quarterback right now. So Alvin Kamara is going to be suspended next year, almost definitely, right? It might be suspended for 6 games. I think he needs help, even if you do have him back and he plays the whole season. So, maybe they're like, well, I don't know, like Bijan Robinson falls to number 25. They're like, okay, well, let's go get him, right? Like, this is like one of the best players in the entire draft. I think they can be aggressive and go and do that. And they don't have to say like, we missed out on Derek Carr. We don't like our options. We're going to have to use a first-round pick on a Hendon Hooker because we are so desperate to get somebody. I just think that they're going to have they have some really young players that they really like who are going to develop, and they've got guys who are healthy now. I think injuries were such a big part of their problem last year. Something that I don't think people on a national level really give a lot of credence to, right? When they say like the Saints were bad last year, it's like, they played with a lot of different lineups last year. It was not fun for anybody here. I think if they have good quarterback play, if their defense plays anything close to what they played last year, if they add a couple more weapons offensively, I think they can be right in the mix where they're winning the NFC South and contending in the NFC, because it's just not a very deep conference.
Does this investment into this roster have any effect on Cam Jordan's future with the team, do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think Cam's going to be back. They haven't restructured his contract yet, but it's going to. Yeah, I'm sure that's happening in the next couple of days. And when that does, at least I'm imagining it will. That'll be a sign that he's not going anywhere in 2023. I don't think I was very confident in that in January, but I think I am a whole lot more confident in it now.
Hendon Hooker was the name that just kept flying all over the place when we were talking about the Saints spot at 25, because that's the most interesting storyline, is if you were to draft a quarterback for the first time since 1971 or whatever it was. That's no longer the case. So what do you think issue number one that the Saints will need to address in the draft will be?
I still think that they're definitely a team who's going to rely on its grades. So, I don't think that they're going to go into this saying we have to do this here. Right. That said, if somebody like Bijan Robinson falls, right, I could see a case where they're like, this guy is amazing. He's one of the best players in this draft. We have him rated number 3, whatever the case may be, and they even maybe trade up for him, right? If not him, there's so many big-bodied pass-catching tight ends in this draft. I would expect them to at some point address that, whether it's with tight end or receiver, right? But like somebody who they can go to on a 50-50 ball, even if they bring Mike Thomas back. Like, he's played 10 games the last 3 years, so you got to have somebody there. And I think you have to have a backup plan in case Mike can't play. So like, I don't know, somebody like Notre Dame's Michael Mayer, right? Or Utah's Dalton Kincaid. I think both are like, potentially high-level NFL pass-catching tight ends and guys who you could go to move the chains on 3rd and 5, which they just didn't have last year. I think they would potentially use their first rounder on a defensive tackle, but I just don't know if that guy's going to be there for him, because I don't think they're going to use it on like a nose tackle like Michigan's Mozzie Smith or Baylor's Siaki Ika, the former LSU guy.
Yeah.
I think nose is something they'd rather just address like cheaply through free agency or later in the draft. I think if like Clemson's like Brian Brisee was there, like I'm not expecting him to be there late in the first, but maybe. I think he'd be a guy I would take there. I don't know, but like one of the more intriguing guys in this draft is Pittsburgh's Kalijah Cansey. Getting a lot of like Aaron Donald comparisons, but like the Saints are not like the type of team that draft a 6 foot, 280-pound defensive tackle. Like that's just not what they do. So he'd have to really like wow them in every other category for them to make that move.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway from this is when you think about the holes that are on the Saints roster and the issues that they had last year, this investment in the quarterback position means they've got to do some serious work in the draft the next couple of years to address some holes cheaply, which is where you can do it in the draft. So that process starts now, I guess. Luke, we appreciate the time, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. And yeah, offensive side of the ball. That's where I would expect him to go.
We shall see. We'll be talking to you soon. Thanks, Luke.
Sounds good. Yep.
Luke Johnson from The Advocate @by Luke Johnson on Twitter. He had 50-plus chili dogs back in about 2012, 13 or so. Yeah, 2013. That's the year we both went up there to cover the College World Series. He drove. I did not do that. I was going to jump on a flight to Omaha. That's a long drive. A lot of books on tape for your boy Luke on that drive up to Omaha, Nebraska. Speaking of Omaha, Nebraska, and college baseball, LSU played 3 games over the weekend. I'll give you some of my thoughts on those next. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Moon Griffon is back. The voice of Louisiana politics makes his return to Baton Rouge. Catch the Moon Griffon Show weekdays from 9 to 11 a.m. on Talk 107.3.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walk.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me?
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Tuesday edition of Hanny Time. We'll have more on Derek Carr to the Saints. Plus, Dwayne Colucci joins us from Las Vegas for Championship Week. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Tigers finishing up a wraparound baseball weekend tonight, 6:30 against Butler. Played Butler back on Friday, and then a couple with Central Connecticut State on Saturday. For those that may have missed it, I go to my Twitter at HuntPalmer88. I left the box about half an hour after the game went final yesterday, and was driving home and went through campus to go home. And as I got to Mike the Tiger's cage, I looked out, and there's the entire Central Connecticut State baseball team. Full uniform, all in pants, tennis shoes, hats. They had just gone from the box, gotten on the bus, and gone over to see Mike the Tiger. Huge weekend experience-wise for those players to come down, play in front of 8,000 people, see Tiger Stadium, see Mike the Tiger. All that is great for them. It's a great life experience that they can talk about for a very long time. That doesn't change the fact that the competition this weekend for LSU has been pathetic. Can't catch the ball, can't pitch, can't hit. Look, I'm not trying to be mean, but these teams are not good, and it's not interesting baseball to watch. And there's not a ton you can take from this weekend, quite frankly. Paul Skeens on Friday, through 6 innings of one-hit baseball, he struck out 13 of the 19 he recorded. How many? The 18 he recorded. And if I'm going to put this in football terms, what I watched him do on Friday, he lined up 2 tight ends, a fullback, and ran a toss drive every play and just blew him off the ball. No reason to get into a hurry up, get in the shotgun, no reason for any trick plays. Just easiest thing we can do, they can't deal with it. He just threw fastballs. That's all Skeens did, was throw fastballs. He was throwing 100 for 2 innings. He was upper 90s the entire time he was out there for 6 innings. I honestly didn't even like the few breaking balls that he threw. He got a couple of strikeouts on breaking balls that weren't all that good, but the guys are so overmatched and so amped up for 100 that anything that's 87 and spinning, they've got no chance on. And that's what you saw. I didn't think Paul Skeens was great on Friday. His line's incredible, but he just threw heaters. On the other side, Cole Graverson struck out 8 in 4 innings and was throwing up zeros against LSU. And it was baffling. Like, we've all seen LSU, maybe it's a midweek game, whatever, where a lower level team brings in a guy that has almost no velocity on his fastball, and it takes LSU one time through the order to see it. It happened to LSU in the 2009 regional opener against Southern. Southern threw a kid, and LSU it was a national championship team, and they just could not wait on it. But the second time through, they eventually started hammering it. This LSU just couldn't stay back on. It was a 74-mile-an-hour fastball, a 63-mile-an-hour changeup, slider, and they just couldn't stay back on it. It was brutal. I mean, I was a little irritated, and I think a lot of people were. I'm not overly concerned about the amount of strikeouts early. I was concerned about the amount of strikeouts on Friday. That guy should not have been missing bats the way he was missing bats on Friday. LSU just could not stay back. And finally, Cruz did stay back and drive one out of the ballpark to right field, and they started falling, and LSU ran away and won the game 10-0. 12-2, sorry. Won the game 12-2. But it was brutal to watch that guy pitch. Other takeaways from the weekend, I did predict that Tommy White would hit two home runs. I said that on Friday. Said you can pencil it in, you can Sharpie it in, you can chisel it in stone, however you want to note it, but it's happening, and he did. He hit 2 home runs on Saturday. Every once in a while, you throw out a crazy prediction, and it happens. You sound smart, even though I don't think I'm fooling anybody. But, yeah, it was good to see White use the back half of the field, hit 2 home runs the opposite way. He'll get going, and that'll be a new dimension to the offense. He's a big, big piece to what LSU wants to do. Cade Beloso hit a pair of home runs. He hit a 1-iron yesterday. I was at the box, and that thing was not – the apex had to be 25 feet. I mean, it was a missile. Do I think Cade Beloso needs everyday at-bats on this team? I don't. Do I think he's a great story, a great locker room guy, and a guy that may get some at-bats here or there? I'm fine with that. I'm not in favor of sitting Jared Jones, the freshman, down to get Cade Beloso more at-bats. I think we know who Cade is. He's a nice player, great locker room guy. I mean, if you heard his interview on Channel 2 before the season, or I guess after a week of the season, maybe it was before the season, but I remember the interview, and he was like, I'm just here for whatever coach needs me for. You need me to go play first base? I'll go play first base. You need me to pinch hit late in the game? I'll pinch hit. You need me to DH? I'll do that. You need me to go grab a glove and play left field? I'll do that. You need me to just carry the boombox out for the victory celebration? I'll do that. Whatever the team needs me to do, I'm here for it. And that's awesome. And I don't think that having his bat in there, maybe as a pinch hitter against a tough right-handed pitcher, when you need a veteran at bat, I think that's a good thing. And people will look at Jones and say, well, he's won for his last 12. He struck out half his at-bats. Yeah, I know. He's a freshman. He needs at-bats. The ceiling there is massive. I need him to swing the bats. And if it comes a point where he's 0 for 2 weeks and he's striking out 70% of the time, okay, we'll make a change. But I'm not there this early in the year. I want Jared Jones to get more college at-bats, not less. So that's where I am there. I was a little bit bummed at a couple of outings from the pitchers. Aiden Moffitt came in and faced 4 batters and walked 3 of them. That he just could not find the strike zone. We know what the potential he has is, and obviously he's got some work to do with Wes Johnson. But his inability to throw some strikes. And then one of the things I put on Friday of the things that I wanted to see this weekend, I wanted Bryce Collins to come in and throw strikes. And he didn't. He threw an inning and a third back on Friday, and he had 2 more walks. And you just have got to throw strikes. Trying to find the statistics, pitches, strikes here. Collins, just under half his pitches were strikes. He threw 32 pitches and 15 were strikes. That's just not enough. And they're getting by right now, and they do have some depth to the staff, but that's a guy that I know the plan was to lean on him very heavily as maybe the highest leverage reliever on the staff. And right now, he's not that. Now, Little has asserted himself to that. He struck out the side yesterday, and Little's been great, and that's a really good thing. But Collins is another guy that they're counting on to give them some high leverage innings. And right now, he can't do it because he's not throwing enough strikes. So that's something you've got to see. you're looking at statistical oddities. LSU obviously played Central Connecticut State on Saturday and Sunday. Central Connecticut recorded 36 outs. They got run ruled in both games, so they got 36 outs, and LSU scored 39 runs. You usually don't want to give up more runs than outs you record. That's generally not a great way to attack things. But that's what we saw. Tonight, it'll be LSU and Butler. Butler, I believe, has lost 7 games in a row. Not a great squad. But we still have something to look forward to tonight because Thatcher Hurd's getting the ball. And this is something that I kind of saw coming. If you started him on Tuesday against Southern, that set him up to start on Tuesday against Texas. That would then maybe set him up for a Monday start against Butler, which is where we are now, which could move him to a Sunday start, the final non-conference week against Samford coming up. That is interesting to me because I'd like him to be in the weekend rotation by the time Southeastern Conference play cranks up and they head to College Station in 2 weeks. So we'll see if Thatcher Hurd can back up a really strong performance against Texas with another one tonight. Pressure kind of ratchets down a little bit. Not going to be the pressure cooker that going on the road against a team that's been to Omaha a couple times the last couple of years. Instead, just focus on what you've got to do. Handle your business. I'd love to see Thatcher Hurd go out there, give him 5, maybe 6 innings, and say, hey, I'm ready for the weekend spot. This is a quote we've run time and time and time again from Jay Johnson when he said, this team is not going to be as good as it can be until Thatcher Hurd gets into that weekend rotation. There's spots open. Riley Cooper didn't make his start this weekend. Chase Shores has not shown that he can get through a lineup twice. What is Ty Floyd going to do? I don't know. They're behind Skeens, we got questions. Now, there are potential answers, but we've got questions. What can Thatcher Hurd do tonight against Butler to start to chip away at some of those questions? That is, to me, a huge, huge deal because this team does not unlock its potential if you can't get the weekend rotation figured out. And right now, there are some moving pieces. So I'm hopeful that tonight Thatcher Hurd goes out there and dominates. I'd like to see 94, 95 on the gun. I'd like to see executed fastballs. I'd like to see everything that I saw from Thatcher Hurd in the second and third innings at Texas last week. It was iffy in the first inning. We know. Walked a couple of guys, gave up a couple of missiles, got out of it thanks to some defensive help. And then right there at the end, he was kind of leaking oil a little bit, and Hackenhausen came in and put out the flames. But tonight is a huge, huge spot for Thatcher Hurd as you try to solidify things moving towards SEC play. You got one more dress rehearsal next week, and then it's showtime. So tonight, LSU's bullpen is rested, rocking, ready to roll. You're going to see Bryce Collins. You're going to see Thatcher Hurd, and we'll see if you see Riley Cooper. Remember, you're playing a pretty good Lamar team in 2 days, and maybe Riley Cooper gets a start in that game if that's something you want to look at. Just kind of depends on how Jay wants to handle things. So tonight, 6:30 first pitch. You want to listen to the ball game, you can catch it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. It'll be pregame at 6 o'clock. It'll be the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, alongside Doug Thompson. Maybe Buzzy, but I think it's Doug tonight from the box. LSU and Butler, 6:30 first pitch. We know that LSU and the rest of the SEC got their permanent opponents for football. Every indication that's what it's going to be on Friday. We reacted to that on Friday, and it got me thinking when Nick Saban said they went back and looked at a 10-year history as they were putting it together. So I said, well, I want access to that. So I went and pulled every SEC team's record over the last 10 years, and some of the results are a little bit surprising. I'll get to those to close out hour number 1 next.
This is On Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me?
Musso, join us for Monday's AFR presented by Relief Windows. Matt is back in the host chair. He's recapping the weekend at the box. LSU and Pels hoops as well. Monday's AFR, 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So Nick Saban suggested last week that the SEC had done some sort of 10-year evaluation of all the teams, and that's part of how they decided on putting these permanent opponents together. So I thought, well, I'd like to look at that information. So I just went and pulled the records from the last 10 years for every SEC team, and now we're going to see how well Taylor Sharp can do in ranking SEC teams by win total over the last 10 years. Taylor Sharp, who would you say is tops in the league?
So I'll knock out the two easy ones. Alabama's first, Vandy's last.
Yeah, those are both correct.
Okay.
So who's second?
Ooh. LSU's going to be up there. I'm going to go Georgia second.
Georgia is second. They've got 109 wins over 10 years. Who you got third?
I'm going to say LSU's third.
LSU is third. LSU has 90 wins over that time. Who's fourth?
Oh, Ole Miss.
Ole Miss is incorrect. We actually have a tie here at fourth between two other schools.
Are they both in the West?
They are both in the West.
Mississippi State and Auburn.
Incorrect. It is Texas A&M. and Auburn. Tied over the last 10 years.
I guess if you consistently go 8-4,
with,
that does.
With 79 wins. Both have 79 wins over the last 10 years. So you got Bama 1, Georgia 2, LSU 3, and you got A&M and Auburn tied at 4th, so coming in 6th place.
Tennessee.
It's the Florida Gators coming in.
I gotta be honest, I would have thought they would have been lower than that.
Florida 75 and 51 over that time frame. They are 6th. Actually tied with another school. I forgot this. They're tied with one other school. Florida is. Which this is where the interesting information, in my opinion, starts.
They're tied with another school?
Uh-huh.
Is it Ole Miss?
It's Mississippi State.
I was in between those two.
Both have 75 wins. That to me is interesting. That Florida, this is not like a 2-year sample. It's a 10-year sample size, and Mississippi State and Florida have the same amount of wins.
Well, if you think about it, State's a lot like A&M. I mean, if they go 8-4, 7-5 every year, they were great for 2 years under Dak Prescott. So I mean, it adds up.
It does. So those two tied at 6. So we're 7 teams deep at this point. Plus, you've knocked Vandy out.
7 teams. Okay.
So we're looking at number 8 here.
I don't want to keep guessing them, but Ole Miss has got to be somewhere.
Ole Miss
in here.
is correct at number 8, and they are actually tied with another school.
They are tied with. I'm going to say either. I'll say they're tied with Kentucky.
They are not. They are tied with Missouri. Ole Miss and Missouri both with
Missouri
70
lost like
wins.
3 games their first 2 years. In the
Yeah, they
ACC.
got to a couple of title games, which they were non-competitive. You want to talk about a stroke of good fortune. Okay, so that we have 9 teams knocked out. Bama's 1, Georgia's 2, LSU 3, A&M and Auburn tied at 4th, Florida and Mississippi State tied at 6th, Ole Miss and Missouri tied at 8th. Plus Vanderbilt is 14th.
Is Kentucky here?
Kentucky is not. This is where Tennessee checks in, and we know it's been a long run.
Yeah, I was thinking, but
utility.
Tennessee had some really bad years too.
10th in the league, Tennessee. So you got 3 teams left, 2 out of the East and 1 out of the West.
South Carolina's next.
South Carolina is 12th behind Kentucky. Kentucky has
and
66
then you got
wins.
Arkansas after.
And Arkansas is 13th.
Well, didn't they go almost 2 years without winning?
They had 2 years that were winless. They've had 2 different coaches over the last 15 years that have lost 15 straight conference games. 2. Bielema did it his first 2 years before he finally beat LSU, and then literally Chad Morris never won a game. And when you go that kind of futility knocks you all the way to the bottom next to Vanderbilt. Which it's interesting that Kentucky and Arkansas are in the bottom 4.
I would have thought Kentucky would have been a little bit higher.
And
I mean, Mark Stoops wins 9 games a year typically.
The thing is that like Tennessee had a bottom out phase right in the middle of this. Kentucky at the beginning of this, right before Stoops got it rolling, hit a bottom out phase. We know that South Carolina couldn't find it under Muschamp. Arkansas had a hellacious bottom out, and then Vanderbilt's just Vanderbilt. But I'm the most interesting thing for me on this is Kentucky being in the bottom 4, because we think of them as being on really solid footing in the Stoops era, but there's some time where they weren't necessarily. Is Arkansas being last to only Vanderbilt, which is an indictment on that program there. And then, hey, Mississippi State tied with Florida over a 10-year period in wins. That's pretty impressive. Missouri, Ole Miss, kind of right there in the middle. But I thought that was fascinating. And I think one of the things that was brought to my attention when we were going through, and my reaction to the scheduling was to group them in the haves and have-nots. And I put Tennessee in the haves portion of it because they always have been. They've been in the Big 3 in the East, and there's been a Big 3 in the West. And now we had Texas and Oklahoma, and they're going to be in the haves portion. But Tennessee could be looked at as a have-not based on the last 20 years. They just haven't been very good. It looks like they've got the right guy at the leadership position. It looks like they're going to turn the corner, but it's been a long road of mediocrity to just poor. And for them to be 10th in the SEC in wins over a 10-year period is pitiful. Behind Missouri, behind Ole Miss, behind Mississippi State, there's Tennessee. And you could argue that if they look at it, they go, well, that's a bottom half of the league program. And you'd have a hard time arguing it over the last 15 years. But maybe Heupel's got it turned around now that he's running the ship over there at Neyland Stadium. So just thought that was interesting to kind of run through over the course of 10 years how teams have panned out, and that's your look at it. That's hour number one here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We opened up the show talking about Derek Carr and his landing spot now in New Orleans. Luke Johnson, the Advocate, joined us at 1:15. I went through my LSU baseball notes from the weekend at 1:30, and then some SEC football talk there. Second hour, I want to talk about LSU and Florida over the weekend in basketball. I want to give you my thoughts and some nuggets from some SEC baseball over the weekend. A no-hitter was thrown in the SEC this weekend, and we'll get some SEC basketball thoughts from the regular season finale on Friday. So come back with us on the other side of Sports Center. It's a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. Free agent quarterback Derek Carr's made his decision. ESPN's Diana Rossini's reporting the former Raiders QB is signing with the Saints. Adding a veteran like Carr is a good move for New Orleans, explains ESPN NFL front office insider Louis Riddick.
This is a perfect guy for a guy like Chris Olave to take his game to the next level. This is a perfect guy for a guy like Rashid Shaheed to take his game to the next level. You're talking about 2 second-year players that are dynamic wide receivers that are going to have a guy who's going to be invested, who's going to be there, who knows how to win. I love the fit. He's the best quarterback in the division already.
Carr's deal could potentially be worth up to $150 million over 4 years and could include up to $100 million guaranteed. The Cowboys placed their franchise tag on running back Tony Pollard. If he and the Cowboys can't reach an agreement on a long-term deal by July 15th, Pollard would have to play this season on the tag. The NFL fully reinstated Jaguars receiver Calvin Ridley from his suspension for violating the league's gambling policy. NBA, the Celtics have ruled out Jason Tatum, Al Horford, and Robert Williams tonight versus the Cavaliers.
Do you own or rent your home? Sure you do. Fortunately, Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. It's a good thing, too, because having a home is hard work. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. Geico.com. Easy.
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on a Monday. Hope your work week's off to a great start. Another warm Monday here in the capital city. Hopefully cold weather's behind us. There's usually one snap at some point during baseball season we get out there and it's really chilly, but it was a really warm, nice weekend down here in Baton Rouge. Hopefully that's the case moving forward. Tigers and Butler tonight. We're going to talk some basketball here as LSU finished the regular season 2-16 in league play. They get beat in Gainesville by Florida. 79-67 was the final. LSU got up 12 in the second half. There's 15 minutes to go in the game, and you're up 12. And Florida goes to a full court press, and LSU breaks the press a few times. Got the ball into the middle of the floor, attacked, had your 3-on-1s, 3-on-2s, and I have no statistical evidence to back this up whatsoever. None. Just my own eyeballs watching. I have never seen a basketball team struggle to finish at the rim at the level that LSU does. I know Matt McMahon has said a few times in press conferences and maybe on some of the telecasts, the color guys, play-by-play guys have had LSU shooting percentage on layups and whatnot. It is unfathomable to me how you could get that many rim runs and not be able to finish. I got Jalen Reed flying through the air trying to dunk it, bouncing off the rim, flying in the air. Cam Hayes trying to get to the bucket. He can't finish around the rim. Fountains had some second chance opportunities from 2 feet. No. And Florida got the tempo of the game going, and LSU's missing at the rim consistently or traveling on the wing when Jalen Reed just took off without dribbling the ball. And Florida was just unconscious in the second half. And you look at the second half box, and Florida shoots 46% from the floor. Sorry, that's for the game. In the second half, they shot 53% from the floor, 7 of 14 from 3, which is 50% obviously, and scored 50 points in the second half. You are winning this game 44-32, a 12-point lead with 15 minutes to go, and got outscored over the last 15 minutes 47-23. 47-23. Playing a team with no pulse that has lost 4 of their last 5 after their best player went down, and they just went nuts. Riley Kugel had 17 points in the second half. He's come on and really played well for them late. He had 21 points in the game. Kyle Lofton, who LSU actually saw in the NCAA tournament, against St. Bonaventure a couple of years ago. He's playing for Florida. He goes for 16. Will Richard has 18. And this is a group of guys that has really struggled to score since Castleton went down. And they just kind of did whatever they wanted. And I'm not prepared at this point to do an autopsy on the basketball season. I think we'll do that Thursday or Friday of this week. I'm assuming things won't go great on Wednesday. We'll see. And that's when I'll give you kind of a bigger scale picture of this. But what I'm watching with my two eyes when they're out there on the floor, far more often than not, doesn't appear to be a team that's underprepared or poorly coached. They don't look like there's a massive lack of effort. I wouldn't say that. I just think there's a talent issue. I see a bunch of guys with some flaws. And outside of KJ Williams, who I think is a pretty complete package at the college level, and he was named second team All-SEC today, deservedly so. You just got some guys that are a little limited. College basketball is far more, in my opinion, about roster management than it is X's and O's. I watch LSU plenty come out of a timeout, come out after halftime and execute a play where all five guys are on the same page and moving, and sometimes they just don't make the shots. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about this full court press break where Florida's in that diamond and one, and LSU does the things they're supposed to do, and then you get to the point where you've got to cash in, and they can't finish the play. Matt McMahon can't go out there and shoot it for them. He can't dunk it for Jalen Reed, who's 6'10", flying in and just slamming it off the back iron. Those film sessions for Matt McMahon have got to be like torture. Because you know how much effort these guys put in, how much work they put in. Basketball coaches don't sleep a lot from November to March. Game's over, you're flying back home, you got practice, you got to watch tape, you got to go recruit, you got practice. There's a lot going on. It's a lot of work. And when you put in an offense or put in a game plan or call a play and you watch them execute that play and then it comes time to cash in and there's nothing to show for it, oh, gosh. Game plan's good. You're up 12 with 15 to go. And then the pressure starts, and they just folded. Florida got going. KJ finishes with 19 points. He was 6 of 13 from the floor. LSU only made 3 threes in the game, 3 of 16, 19%. Tough to win a game shooting 19% from the three. And Miller goes for 10, Hannibal with 9. Tyrell Ward didn't really get involved. He was 0 of 2 from the floor, didn't score. I mean, he played 20 minutes, didn't make a shot, only took 2, had 1 rebound, 1 assist, and got 2 fouls. That's not very involved, especially against a team that's playing 4 guards. So it was what it was. We all sat there and watched it for 3 months. And the good news about, and again, I'm not going to get into the big picture until this thing's over, but the good news about college basketball is even more so than football and baseball, because there are so few players on a team, it's about roster management from the end of March to the end of June. How many guys can you get in the boat to transform the roster? I, more so than most LSU fans, maybe not all, but certainly most, research LSU's opponents. I got to talk about them here every time LSU plays a game. I look at the starting 5. I go through stats. I think there would be some people surprised at the amount of transfers that are on every team in the league. You could look up at that game, LSU in Florida, on Saturday. 10 guys out of the 10 on the floor, every one of them was a transfer. That's the nature of it. So it's not always about the high school signees you bring in. That's a nice start, but you've got to use these mid-major schools as AAA. Start calling them up. And that's what's got to happen. We'll get into it later this week. But LSU outscored 47-23 over the last 15 minutes of the game in Gainesville, and they fall to 2-16 in the league. They finish in 14th, which is, of course, last in the SEC. They'll play the late game on Wednesday night in Nashville against the Georgia Bulldogs, a team who is real lifeless at this point. They have not played well at all over the last 3 weeks under Mike White in his first year. So it'll be two teams that, quite frankly, are about ready for this thing to be over on Wednesday. And for somebody, it will be. We'll get you ready for it on Wednesday's show. I'm sure you're all fired up about that. All right, when we come back, let's transition to some SEC baseball. There's a no-hitter over the weekend, a couple teams in some tournaments, late extra inning game last night in league play, and somebody's already got 10 home runs. So I'll tell you about all that coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana like Trey Godfrey. Trey is a senior vice president of policy for the Baton Rouge Area Chamber. His work there, he oversees education policy, among a lot of other things, and that allows him to make an impact from a more systemic perspective. Trey believes Louisiana will reach its full potential when we all understand that we have to work together to lift one another. That's why Trey is a champion of Louisiana. If you know of somebody like Trey who's doing great philanthropic work in our state, if you know somebody that's a nonprofit or a business that's doing great work in our great state, we want to tell their story. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate them to be a champion of Louisiana like Trey Godfrey. Trey Godfrey is March's Champion of Louisiana, presented by LWCC.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've got that blue sky. I've got that sunshine.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-7.
Jimmy Ott and Charles Hanniger for the Monday edition of Game Time. We're live at Finbom on Burbank and Lee, right next to Rouse's, getting you ready for championship week. Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. Monday from Finbom on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
We're in the worst part of the baseball season for me. The newness has kind of worn off a little bit. I mean, you were excited to see this team play, and now you have for 3 weeks, but you still have 2 weeks till you get to conference play, playing schools no one's ever heard of. These scores are out of control. I'm ready for SEC baseball play, and I have, maybe more so than any other year, watched more SEC baseball this year, pre-conference, than ever. We put polls out. I've heard from people like, y'all want to hear about the SEC baseball right now because LSU is as relevant as they are, and they were ranked number 1 in the country again this week. So I feel like I have a pretty good handle on quite a few of the teams in the league. And so I'll give you some of my thoughts that I looked at over the weekend. Ole Miss went up to Big Ten country in Minneapolis, played in the Viking Stadium. I didn't pay to watch it, but apparently the camera work and the quality of the broadcast was abysmal, which you might imagine up there in Minneapolis in a football dome. Apparently it's just awful. But Ole Miss did sweep the weekend. They beat Maryland, who was actually in Oxford last weekend for a 3-game series. Beat them 5-1 on Friday. Beat Minnesota 9-7. Then beat Nebraska 14-5. One thing that we know about Ole Miss at this point is their offense is legit. They can really hit. They are an exceptionally good offensive team. They've got questions in their rotation, questions in the bullpen, and we'll see how that works out. But at this point, they have the highest fielding percentage in the league, and they are hitting like crazy. So it's a good club that Mike Bianco has at Ole Miss, and they won the weekend up in Minneapolis. Another weekend that I was excited to get a look at was Florida and Miami in Gainesville. And Florida took 2 of 3 from the Gators. On Saturday, Florida's bullpen got lit up. Florida gave up 13 unanswered runs to Miami on Saturday. That was Hurston Waldrop at the end of his outing, and then they went to the bullpen, and Miami just lit them up. And that's been their bugaboo in the midweek, in 2 midweek losses as well. The Gators' bullpen is not where it needs to be right now. Their starting rotation is phenomenal, might be the best in the league. Their offense is fantastic. Their bullpen stinks right now. There's really no other way to say it. Now, Jack Caglione, who I've mentioned a couple times over the last couple of weeks, he had another multi-home run game on Saturday. He hit 2 home runs. That brings his total to 10 this year. Jack Caglione has 10 homers. And, oh, by the way, he started on Sunday. Oh, no, he didn't start. He came out of the bullpen on Sunday, threw 6 innings of 1-run ball and struck out 8. He's throwing 98 miles an hour from the left side. He's got 10 home runs. He is very much the front runner for SEC Player of the Year to this point. Cruz is pretty good. Dolander's pretty good, although his numbers aren't quite as good as they were last year right now. But Caglione and what he's doing playing both ways is remarkable. And I hear you if you're yelling, well, if he can hit, why don't they let Skeens hit? Caglione's not quite the cog in their rotation that Skeens is at LSU at this point. He's been really good offensively. So 10 home runs already for Jack Caglione, Florida. They beat Miami 2 out of 3. A&M got absolutely annihilated by Louisville on Friday. The score at one point was 14-0. Now they came back and salvaged the weekend. They beat Rice 13-1. It's not a very good Rice team. And then they beat Texas Tech in extras yesterday. But I'm just not quite there with A&M. And I realize I did this with them in basketball this year, and they've certainly proved me wrong on that. But this is an A&M team that has basically their entire offense back from last year. They added a really highly talented freshman in Laviolette, Jace Laviolette, who's been great. Well, his average isn't great. He's hitting some home runs. But I don't see the surefire pros. I don't see an ace. It looks to me to be just a nice team. They don't look to be a top 10 team in my eyes. And they got smoked on Friday by Louisville. So I know that LSU opens with A&M. We'll figure it out. They'll go to College Station, and we'll see how that thing goes. I'm not seeing a team that looks like an Omaha team to me with Texas A&M right now. Vanderbilt went 2-1 in Minneapolis. One of the wins was pretty noteworthy. They threw a no-hitter on Sunday against Minnesota, so that's pretty impressive for Vanderbilt. I thought Holton was pretty good on Friday, and from a line score perspective, struck out a few guys, and I think he's one of the better Friday night arms in the SEC. Vanderbilt goes 2-1 up in Minneapolis. Here's a team that I have no feel for whatsoever. None. Bama. Bama's 12-0. They haven't lost yet. They've outscored their opponents 126-32. But they've played a bad schedule, and I have no idea what to make of it. I have no track record of a great team last year. I don't have, slam dunk top 20 picks in the draft. A great team would crush inferior teams, but maybe it's a good team or a 16-win SEC team that's just crushing bad teams. I just can't tell. I'm going to need probably 9 games of SEC action to form a better opinion. I probably can't do it in 3. I don't really want to do it in 6. After 9 SEC games, so 3 of your 10 weekends, I should have a better feel for what Alabama is. Right now, I don't know, because they're always going to be picked down towards the bottom of the West because you've got perennial powers like LSU and Ole Miss and Arkansas, and then Auburn's been pretty good, and A&M's in Omaha last year. That Bama's program, just where their program is, you expect them to be down the line in the Western Division. And that's where they were picked this year, and I don't know. My gut tells me they're probably an above-average SEC team based on what they're doing early, but I can't make a definitive statement on Bama to this point. What I can tell you is that I think Mississippi State has real problems. Real problems. They cannot pitch or play defense. Listen to some of these run totals. We've only played 3 weeks of baseball. 3 weeks. And it's not like it's happened once. It keeps happening. VMI, game 2 of that series. VMI scores 14 runs. You come back 2 days later, ULM scores 11. Arizona State comes in on a Friday, scores 13 runs on a Friday night. You go to Southern Miss on a Tuesday. You give up 9, win a game 10-9. They went to Frisco over the weekend. Ohio State scored 8. Then Oklahoma scored 15. I mean, it's half their games. They're giving up 8, 10, 12, 15 runs. That's not good. Because once you get into conference play, you ain't playing VMI anymore. ULM ain't showing up. You're getting Ole Miss's offense. You're getting LSU's offense. You're getting Florida's offense. South Carolina's hitting home runs all over the place. And you can't get Ohio State out? Not good. I mean, again, let me go through those. How many games am I going through? Oklahoma scored 15. Ohio State scored 8. Southern Miss scored 9. Arizona State scored 13. ULM scored 14. VMI scored 13. That's 6 of your 13 games. 6 of your 12 games. Half. In half your games, you're getting lit up. I think it's bad news. Chris Lemonis had the honeymoon period after the national championship, and then I think that gets a little bit dampered when the team up the road wins the national championship the next year. You're like, okay, let's get on the horse. And now you look up through 3 weeks, you're 7-5. Your pitching staff's getting banged all over the yard. Now, I'm not suggesting Chris Lemonis is about to be fired. That's ludicrous. I'm just saying I'm not sure the program is on great footing right now because they weren't very good last year, and they're not pitching right now. So if I were to rank them in the SEC West at this point, I would put them last. And think LSU, Ole Miss, Arkansas. I'm just going to put Bama a notch below that. And then A&M, Auburn. And then I got State last. If I were doing power rankings, that's just not something you would expected to said after the early run in Chris Lemonis' time. Everything went wrong last year. They had guys getting hurt. It just spiraled out of control. It happens. Got to come back the next year and put that in the rearview mirror and reestablish yourselves among the elite in college baseball. And right now, at 7-5, with losses to VMI, loss to ULM, losing to Arizona State by 9 runs in a Friday game, losing to Ohio State, losing to Oklahoma, it just doesn't look promising. They've got one weekend against Lipscomb coming up, and then they'll get into SEC play. Got Kentucky, got Vanderbilt, got South Carolina, Bama. I mean, it's not easy. But right now, I think if I'm looking at the SEC West, I got Mississippi State down towards the bottom, and this week didn't do anything to dissuade me from that. Thanks for hanging out with us here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're going to take a time out here when we come back. SEC basketball wrapped up its regular season statement win for Buzz's boys. And did Mississippi State do enough to get itself into the NCAA tournament? I'll tell you about it next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done at a high level. Ryan Terrio and Richard Tilley have the same level of trust when it comes to roofing.
If you have a roofing issue, call HUDCO Roofing.
Give us a call, 364-1007, and we'll come to your house and give you a free inspection.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance, with the latest in office technology.
Join us for a Tuesday edition of Off the Bench, as T-Bob and Hester are back in studio, and we talk Saints with Nick Underhill of New Orleans.Football, plus a new OTB mailbag. Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I think Texas A&M can make the Final Four. Is that bad? I wouldn't bet on them to do it, but I'm telling you they can. That was impressive on Saturday. I said they needed to keep the game around 70. That was the number that I gave, because Bama, when they lose, is held around 70, and A&M doesn't necessarily score a ton. And I thought if the game got to 80, that would be too fast and too much for A&M. They held Alabama to 61. 22 in the first half. And Wade Taylor should be a first-team All-League player. He scores 28 points in this game against Alabama. 10 of 10 from the free throw line. He was sensational. And Bama had one of those games that gets people thinking about their mortality in the NCAA tournament, because they're going to shoot a lot of threes. And when they go 7 of 36, like they did in College Station, the result is 61 points. And they've done some amazing things this year. That win they had against Auburn, the way that Auburn played, for them to still have enough to get that thing to overtime and beat Auburn, was amazing to me. But when you're going to consistently rely on 30 to 43s being shot, and if you have a day where it's ice cold, that's a ticket home. And Bama saw that on Saturday. The final was 67 to 61. Impressive statement win by Texas A&M. They went 15-3 in SEC play. Got second place in the league. That is a really, really strong effort by Buzz Williams and that team. Auburn had to have it inside Auburn Arena on Saturday, and they got it done. Wendell Green hits that crazy buzzer beater before the half, and then finishes the game with 24 points. They beat Tennessee 79-71. By the way, just so we're clear, Tennessee finished 11-7 in the league. 7 league losses for a team that was top 5 in the country for a lot of the year, and Saturday was ranked 12th in the country with 7 league losses. That's more than twice what A&M had. A&M was 15-3. Tennessee was 11-7. And Auburn, I believe, clinched a spot in the NCAA tournament with that win on Saturday. 79-70 was the final. Santiago Vescovi had 21 points, and he's got to shoulder a lot more of the load with Zakai Ziegler out. But really, I thought the story was Auburn. Just really good on offense against a tough Tennessee D. To score 79 points and to only turn the ball over 6 times against a team as good on defense as Tennessee was really impressive. And that's one of the traits that I trust in Auburn under Bruce Pearl, is I trust them to play when the energy level and the lights are the brightest, because Bruce Pearl's like that all the time, and his teams seem to respond to that, play to that level. And they knew, Bruce Pearl said in the media, he's like, we have to win one of these last two to clinch a spot in the NCAA tournament. We play Alabama, we play Tennessee, we have to win one. He said it loud to the media. And they came up just short in Tuscaloosa, and you think maybe that'll be a gut punch they can't really respond to. Tennessee will come in here and kind of choke them out. Nope. Almost scored 80 points, won the game. So big win for them. Speaking of big wins, Kentucky goes to Fayetteville on the heels of getting beat on their home floor by Vanderbilt, and they boat race Arkansas. Antonio Reeves, 37 points. Pretty nice effort from Nick Smith as well. He scored 25, had 6 assists. But Kentucky goes into Bud Walton and kind of controls it. They were up at halftime and then scored 48 in the second half. Arkansas 8-10 in league play. Their metrics are great in terms of the net. The net loves them because of their defensive efficiency ratings, and I'm not sure what the committee will say about the injury to Nick Smith now that he's healthy. He's given them 30-plus minutes a game. He's scoring a lot of points. He's their offensive catalyst. Does that matter that he's now back and he wasn't there when they had a tough start to conference play? I don't know. I don't know how much they'll weigh that. But Arkansas feels to me like a 9 or 10, even though their net's really good. We'll see. They were a 6 in Lenardi's last week. So I don't see it. An under 500 conference record, 9-12 overall, 19-12 overall, it feels like a lesser seed to me. South Carolina got a win. The only reason this is relevant is because LSU plays Georgia on Wednesday. This is a Georgia team that scored 55 points on South Carolina on Saturday. You look at their recent history, they have lost 5 games in a row now. They lost by 49 points to Bama. They lost by 32 to Arkansas. They lost by 22 to Missouri. And they lost by 10 to a Florida team that was reeling bad with no Castleton. And then they lost to South Carolina, and again, they scored 55 points. I could make a real compelling argument that Georgia is playing significantly worse than LSU at this current point. The last game Georgia won was that home game against LSU that they won by 2 points. I don't know if it's an energy level, an effort level. I'm going to be real honest with you and tell you I did not watch a second of the Georgia and South Carolina basketball game. No thanks. Got a few other things going on a Saturday as opposed to watching the Dogs and the Gamecocks do battle. But that trend is very, very troubling for Mike White at the end of year number 1, and I'm curious to see what the line on that game is going to be. We'll get that on Wednesday. Would not surprise me at all if LSU's a favorite in the game because Georgia's just playing atrocious basketball. Speaking of atrocious, Ole Miss lost to Missouri. They did score 77 points, but Missouri, as they are prone to do, was able to go out there and score a bunch, and they scored 82 and held Ole Miss off. Missouri didn't lean on the 3-ball as much as they have previously. They were only 7 of 23 from 3, which is 30%, but they were good from 2-point range and ended up scoring 82 points on an Ole Miss team that goes 3-15, finishes with the 13th seed in the Southeastern Conference. So they'll get a date on Wednesday as well. And for me, I think I thought Auburn had the biggest game on their schedule on the weekend to beat Tennessee and get in. I thought Mississippi State was second in line there. And because I think Auburn could punch their ticket on Saturday. I think they did. I think Mississippi State still had some work to do, but they had a big one on Saturday, and they couldn't get it done in Nashville. Tolu Smith was great in that game. He had 27 points and 11 rebounds, but Vanderbilt just too good. Jordan Wright, Baton Rouge product, had 19 points, and Vanderbilt beats Mississippi State 77-72. Vanderbilt finishes 11-7 in the SEC. That's the same record Tennessee had. And obviously, they beat Tennessee in Nashville at that buzzer beater 3 at the end. But if you would have told me Vanderbilt and Tennessee would have the same SEC record, I would have thought you were nuts. Tennessee was a national championship type team entering January. Vanderbilt was potentially looking at firing their coach after losing to Grambling in the non-conference. And Stack was able to get his guys fired up and ready to play. Robbins came into his own, and they've played great basketball to their talent level and won 11 league games. Mississippi State drops to 8-10. When I look at Mississippi State's resume, I don't see an NCAA tournament team. Lenardi's got him in. The only thing, the solace that it gives me in looking at Mississippi State is if that's the bar to get to the NCAA tournament, LSU's got a reasonable shot to get there at some point. Because they didn't do much in the non-conference. They had one nice win, Marquette. And then in conference play, they were an under 500 team, 8-10. So I think they're on the outside looking in. I think they can play their way in Nashville. I think it's a big week for them. They're the team with the most to gain this week in Nashville. We'll see what happens with them. They lose to Vanderbilt 77-72. That's your look around the Southeastern Conference in basketball. Take one more time out. When we come back, we'll play some Take It or Leave It, and we will get you ready for LSU baseball tonight against Butler. That's all next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire up their opinions on the JimsFirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the JimsFirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
What the? Is that a skag? You've got to be kidding me. Look at those stripes. Oh, and that comfy seat. It's like he's riding on a cloud. We get it, Gary. Your stripes look perfect.
The moment you know you want a skag. Skag. Simply the best.
I had to leave my parents. I had to move schools. I don't know anyone here. Everything keeps changing. Why is this happening to me? I'm sure glad you're here.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you.
Louisiana. It's a place defined by culture, by pride, by passion, by people who do more than love this place. They celebrate it, elevate it, champion it. They are the individuals who embody what makes Louisiana great. The companies that make Louisiana a better place to work and live. The nonprofits leading transformational change in our communities. Champions of Louisiana are all around us, and LWCC is proud to celebrate them because we've always been Louisiana loyal, supporting the workers, the innovators, the change agents of this great place we call home. Who are the champions around you? Together, we can share their stories. Together, we can help our home state thrive. Together, we are Louisiana loyal. Always.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, Our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Hi, I'm Brandon Landry, founder and CEO of Walker.
Hi, my name is Dr. Craig Green.
This is Ryan Terrio with HUDCORoofing.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. No matter how big your commercial roofing job, HUDCO can help.
My patients come to me because they trust that I can get the job done.
Charles Hanniger, join us for the Tuesday edition of Hanny Time. We'll have more on Derek Carr to the Saints. Plus, Dwayne Colucci joins us from Las Vegas for Championship Week. Hanny Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I was just scrolling through the Twitter machine during the break and saw Mike Norvell headed into their first spring practice over in Tallahassee. Florida State cranking things up today. LSU starts spring practice on Thursday. There will be media availability for Thursday. Then we do not have availability on Friday. Then they go on spring break for a week, and then they come back. So they're having 2 practices, then a week off, and then the rest of the spring practices, which I think is a little bit weird. But whatever. I'm not calling the shots over there. It seems to work just fine. So we'll see. We'll get you ready for some spring practice on Thursday and should have some content for you on Friday from our look at the Tigers. Tonight, LSU and Butler from the box. The 6:30 first pitch. The pregame show starts up over on Eagle 98.1 at 6. Thatcher Hurd on the mound for LSU. I think if you see Thatcher Hurd tonight throw the baseball well, get through 5 or 6 innings against a bad Butler team, you could see him in the Sunday spot against Samford. That is speculation on my part, but it makes a lot of sense. You had him lined up, so he was going to get a look at Texas. He pitched well in that game. You can move him up one day of the week to a Monday game because of this wraparound series, and then you can move him up one more day to Sunday. I think that would make a lot of sense. So we'll see. It's not like Chase Shores has taken that spot and run with it. He's had trouble getting through the lineup a second time. So big spot for Thatcher Hurd tonight. Butler, I believe, has lost 7 games in a row. I know they lost both games to Central Connecticut State this weekend. So it's a Central Connecticut team that LSU scored more runs on it than outs were recorded. So I would imagine things will be pretty out of hand tonight at some point. But you can still take some from Thatcher Hurd's outing. Hopefully he is very, very good. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It, Taylor Sharp.
Yeah, let's do it. Hunt, it's football season, okay? Just accept it.
It is
spring
not. I
practice
will not.
coming around.
That's absolutely incorrect. It's the best time of the year. It's spring. It's golf. It's the Players' Championship. It's baseball. Masters coming up. There's no football.
Well, that's not true. There's XFL football.
That's true.
And last night, Josh Gordon had himself a game for the Seattle Sea Dragons.
Yeah.
6 catches, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gordon will be back in the NFL. Take it or leave it.
Oh, I'll leave that. Did I just hear you say the Seattle Sea Dragons?
The Seattle Sea Dragons.
So we
Not
got the
to be confused with
Seahawks and the Sea
Seahawks, yeah.
Dragons? Let's get a little more creative, XFL. And that's like right off the NFL's sheet there.
Have you watched any of the XFL?
No, that's...
Well, fortunately for you, I have. So I don't know why the Sea Dragons aren't good. I mean, they got Gordon. Ben DiNucci's probably the best QB in the league. They're 1-2. So,
I mean, look, if you want me to start handicapping the XFL, we got real problems.
we got
on our hands
Jimmy
at
Ott
that
for
point.
that.
I just no, the minor league football stuff. I'm thrilled for the football sickos who just can't get enough, that love the combine. They're grinding that. They want to watch XFL. They want to. I think that's great. You're just not going to find me there.
Here's one more up your alley. The World Baseball Classic starts tomorrow.
That's
Take it
true.
or leave it.
You know, that's interesting because in college, I got into Team USA basketball like heavy. I told the story in the air before, but they played those 2008 Olympics over 2 weeks when I had moved down to Baton Rouge. I was my junior year. I'd moved into my new apartment, but school hadn't started yet. So I had nothing to do. So I just watched the Olympics all the time. I was waking up to the live broadcast of Team USA basketball like 3 in the morning. And like watching. Maybe some of it was like at 5 in the morning, I think. And I would just wake up and watch. I was all in on that team. I went on eBay and I bought a Dwayne Wade Team USA jersey. Like, I got really into it. And that's right before they started the World Baseball Classic. And I was like, oh my God, I love Team USA basketball. And now they're playing my favorite sport. I'm going to be so in on this. I have not been in on the World Baseball Classic ever. And I'm not sure why. I think it's because MLB teams despise their players playing in this. They think it's dangerous for pitchers. Guys getting too ramped up in terms of hitting. They need to be in spring training, in like a controlled environment. I just have never gotten into the World Baseball Classic, so I will leave it. I don't even know who's on our team, and I'm a MLB guy. Like I don't even know who's on the roster. So I'm not a big World Baseball Classic guy. It's just not my thing.
Conference championship week, take it or leave it.
That's another thing that brings me back to college, and it's like it's waking up. And the old Big East tournament before realignment was so awesome. The first day you had to kind of like wade through DePaul and St. John's and some of those teams, but by like Wednesday you got Syracuse and Georgetown, and you got the Marquette, and it was awesome at that point. And I feel like now you had Louisville in the Big East at that time, and it was just awesome stuff. And I feel like that kind of took a little bit of the luster off when the Big East dissolved and everybody went other places. And then LSU just historically has not been very good in SEC tournaments. They, of course, got into the final against Alabama a couple of years ago in that Classic. When I had said on my podcast, I was like, look, this is the worst matchup for LSU in the country. They're never going to be able to beat that team because they don't guard off the dribble very well. Bama just dices them up, and they got to the end. Watford carried them to the finish line, and they just came up a little bit short, and that's when Natos famously said to get the blank out. And I have hated him ever since and will hate him ever since, so I'm thrilled that he was a little cranky on Saturday after they got beat. I'll take Conference Championship Week. I think the best part of Conference Championship Week is, of course, the little teams playing in the gyms with 800 people in them, trying to fight like hell to get to the point where Gonzaga can beat them by 60. Like that's what we're playing for. These teams that are trying to punch their tickets. And I heard an interesting quote, and I can't remember who it was that said it. It said, there's no pressure in college basketball like being the number 1 seed in a one-bid league tournament because you've played so well all year long and none of it matters. It's a very, very a quote that's burned in my brain from the baseball side of things was Roger Cador. And I was interning at WAFB in 2009, and we went out to cover Southern Weekend Series, and they got beat in a doubleheader. And Roger Cador, Sharif Ishak, it was when Sharif was Channel 9, and he asked him a question, and Roger just kind of looked at him as he could and kind of went, Sharif, it doesn't really matter until the conference tournament. It's like we can lose these. We got to get to the conference tournament. If we win that, we play on. If we don't, we don't. And that's what so many of these teams are dealing with this week with conference tournament play. It's not really about the ACC conference title. It's about winning the Ohio Valley or winning these one-bid leagues and getting your opportunity to play in the dance where all the lights shine the brightest. So there's a ticket being punched every single night this week, and that's good. But I just yearn for that old Big East tournament. Like I remember watching it from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. When I was in college. What was that? Who went nuts in the tournament? Was it Syracuse with like McNamara that hit a bunch of threes? And I think that stands out to me. Kemba Walker was a freak for that UConn team in the Big East tournament that was so awesome. Those were great. It was UConn, Syracuse, and Louisville, and all those awesome teams. And now the Big East is just kind of not quite what it once was because teams left and are playing other places. But that'll do it here for Take It or Leave It on a Monday. Hope your week is off to a good start. Appreciate you hanging out with us here at 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. If you missed any of today's show, you can always catch our stuff on demand. We welcome you to go check our stuff out on demand. You can find us on YouTube every day. The show's updated its entirety. Plus, Taylor does an awesome job of cutting up some segments and posting those there. So if you'll subscribe to our YouTube channel right under the video there, we certainly would appreciate that. You can catch us on Apple Podcasts. You can catch us on Spotify. You can catch us on Google. Anywhere you get your podcasts, you can always find us. We invite you to search for The Hunt Palmer Show, like, subscribe, rate, review. It just gets our stuff in front of more people, which is exactly what we're trying to do here on the station. So we appreciate your help with that. We opened the show today talking about the Saints landing Derek Carr. My thoughts on that, I've kind of given to you over the last 2 weeks, and they haven't really changed. But I do think now that the Saints have this linchpin in and you understand where they're coming from with their roster, the draft just to me becomes so massively important because I just don't think you can fill all your holes in free agency committing that much money to the quarterback spot as opposed to saving some money by going with Jameis Winston or even Andy Dalton for another year. So I gave my full thoughts at the top of the show. Then we had Luke Johnson of The Advocate come on, and he was really, really good. We also talked about the fact that he ate a lot of chili dogs back in 2013, into the 50s, in fact. So that's not great. We talked to Luke at 1:15. I gave him my thoughts on LSU baseball over the weekend at 1:30. Paul Skeens, Tommy White, Cade Beloso, all that jazz was at 1:30. And, of course, we went to SEC football at the end of hour number 1. I went back and looked at everybody's record over the last 10 years. Apparently, that's what they did when they were putting the schedule together, and it came up with some interesting stuff. We had Taylor kind of try to guess how the team stacked up there at the end of hour number 1. Talked to LSU Florida basketball at 2 o'clock, SEC baseball at 2:15, and some SEC hoops at 2:30 before Take It or Leave It. Hopefully the Tigers get it done at the box tonight. Either way, Jimmy Ott's Game Time coming out to you from 6 to 8 this evening, and Matt Moscona is about to drive you home from 3 to 6 on After Further Review. Tomorrow's show, we'll recap LSU and Butler. We'll also talk with Glenn West and Sharif Ishak. So looking forward to that. You can always find us here, same time, same place, 1 to 3 weekdays. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.